The movies I watched in February. What about them? It was a month filled with many good and also bad new releases, as well as some classics. Let's get into it!
Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now.
The Lost Bus, 3 out of 5. First, I watched this film on Apple TV Plus about a school bus driver and a teacher racing to rescue children trapped during a fast-moving wildfire. It's a good film, but not always filmed well. There are some very tense and gripping scenes which are shot very well, accompanied by pretty strong visuals. The characters are okay, but I could have used a bit more connection. The start, however, was a little lackluster, but I definitely got into it once it started picking up the pace. It is just a shame that it does get a little repetitive at times. There's obviously only so much you can do with fire in a bus. The ending itself is also very anticlimactic. How was that so easy all of a sudden? Mercy, 1 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema in IMAX about a future detective accused of murdering his wife who has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to a powerful AI judge. Not that bad of a film, but what it is trying to say shouldn't be accepted. In terms of looking at it as a film, it is a surprisingly cool spin on a detective story with enough twists and turns along the way. I thought it was gonna be some AI slop, but I was surprised. It isn't AI slop, its message is extremist AI support. The film honestly didn't start off great with some extreme exposition, but maybe it needed some. However, it got a lot better as it went on. I liked the in-world editing, even though it is a bit shaky, nauseating and nonsensical. No one is filming this much. I always applaud a real-time film, especially if it takes place in a chair, if it is able to keep me engaged, which it did. However, and that's a big however, it is just a shame that it throws everything it had out of the window with its message. I'll give it little props for being decent, but I can't give it any more than that. Contact, 5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Prime Video about a scientist who discovers a signal from outer space and is chosen to make first contact with an alien intelligence. It is very ahead of its time in many ways. It's like Interstellar and Arrival had a baby before either of them was born. What an event this would have been to see at the time. There is some weird stuff in here, but a lot of cool as well. With the weird, I mean that in short moments it is totally weird between science fiction and rom-com. With the cool, I mean the shots, the visuals. Even though not all hold up, they are ambitious. The originality of the story, how thought-provoking it is, Jodie Foster being fantastic as always, and a lot of stuff I don't know anything about but definitely kept me intrigued. Some of that first act was definitely a waste of time looking back at it, but once it gets going, it really gets going. I get that the ending is like it is. It should be a little open and ambitious. Still, it definitely gives some directions and food for thought, but I am greedy here and could have used more. It is the kind of film that has its flaws but has such a sense of awe and wonder that it is undeniable. Send Help, 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about two co-workers who survive a plane crash and must battle each other's will to survive while stranded on a deserted island. A return to Raimi. It definitely has the Raimi sauce, particularly in a few scenes. It is surprisingly funny in a dark way and incredibly disturbing to look at times. The opening is just long enough and does just enough to put everything in motion. Rachel McAdams is pretty great as always and fully goes for it, and even though O'Brien is supposed to be somewhat of a caricature, it is a little too much sometimes. The dynamic between them does get a little stale in moments, but honestly, so does the whole middle part of the film. I liked where the film went in terms of the idea in the finale, but I did not like all of the execution. It rubbed me the wrong way a bit. Ratatouille, 4.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Disney Plus with my girlfriend about a rat who dreams of becoming a chef and secretly cooks in a famous Paris restaurant. It might be the best final act of any animated film ever. What an incredibly warm hug of a film that sadly flew by. While some animated films, particularly nowadays, are very smart, with layers upon layers of meaning and gags, this one succeeds in its simplicity of a strong message and a heartwarming story. Crime 101, 4 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about a veteran detective tracking a meticulous jewel thief who lives by a strict criminal code. Sleek and stylish with an old school feel. It has a very cool opening that pulls you right in, sets the stage, immediately shows that it is shot very well and that Halle Berry is still smoking hot. I always love an interconnected story that comes together. It strikes a good balance between all the stories but has slightly too little focus on the police investigation. However, that might be because there is no real mystery here, just a tightly knit story. Monica Barbaro was a strong standout in her limited screen time, and anything Barry Keoghan was plain bad. The rest in between, in terms of both characters themselves as well as performances, were pretty good. It is just a little too long, which you particularly feel in the second half. Marty Supreme, 4.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema in IMAX about a fast-talking ping-pong hustler in 1950s New York chasing fame, money and respect. A tour de force from Timothée Chalamet. Marty is extremely unlikable as a protagonist, but also very likable when actually playing the game. In this, the film strikes a weird balance. You can't help but root for him when he's actually playing, despite all he does to get there. His unlikableness does get a little too far, which diminishes the film slightly, but not Chalamet's performance. He is truly generational here, he shows everything he's capable of and more. While the supporting cast also put in strong work across the board. Story-wise, after the first act it meanders a little too much. Most is interesting, but not all. There is just so much going on and there is truly no slow moment, which is mostly a positive. However, I would have liked a little more ping pong, that shit was invigorating to watch. The film is also very funny in moments, while technically it has an extraordinary period feel, putting you right into that time and place, as well as a fantastic score accompanying everything on display. People We Meet on Vacation, 2 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Netflix about two best friends whose annual trips together slowly reveal unresolved feelings that could change their relationship forever. The title honestly doesn't match the film at all. It is cute in moments, there are some enjoyable parts, but in general it felt a bit empty to me and it didn't get me to care. I don't know if I liked all the going back and forth. I struggled to connect to the characters, particularly because they were so different from scene to scene. I also felt parts of the performances were extremely acted, while Tom Blythe was so flat, even too flat for his character. At a certain moment it becomes too predictable, so predictable that I even wanted to skip some parts, which is never a good sign. Caught Stealing, 3 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Netflix about a former baseball phenomenon turned bartender who gets unwittingly dragged into New York's criminal underworld after agreeing to watch his neighbor's cat. It is a very watchable throwback film. There are some very entertaining chase scenes and unexpected gore. The camera work really adds to the tension, particularly in those moments. Austin Butler is really good as expected and Matt Smith is really entertaining in his limited screen time. There is a very obvious twist and a disappointing choice story-wise midway through, but the film gets a little more surprising as it goes on and has a very satisfactory ending. Scream 7, 1.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about a new wave of Ghostface killings that pulls survivors back into a deadly game of secrets and revenge. It is the worst Scream film, definitely in the writing department. Because who the hell wrote this? It is bad, lazy, the characters suck, has way too many callbacks and just doesn't feel like a Scream film at all. The magic of getting to know some characters and having to guess who it is truly isn't here. Hardly any characters had anything to do with the plot and were underdeveloped. It was also the first time that I guessed the killer very early on. It is easily the worst Ghostface reveal ever, especially after everything that went down in the story leading up to it. It is an uninteresting snooze fest with hardly any interesting characters. At least there are a couple cool kills and a few chuckles throughout. However, it is just astounding how you can go from one of the best in the franchise to this atrocity.
And there you have it, the movies I watched in February. These were my best and worst watches of the month. I hope you guys again enjoyed me rambling about some films I watched, and if you did, let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these.
I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.